Welcome to APA the easy way. Yes, you knew it was coming, and here it is. First, let me assure you, no one expects you to memorize any of this. But I think it is useful for you to understand why we're doing what we're doing and kind of the basic philosophy behind it. So I'm addressing these questions that I usually get. And the first one is, why are we doing our references before we even write the paper? And the answer is because references and in-text citation work together. The in-text citation, in parentheses, in your text, is meant to be inobtrusive, but be a breadcrumb that I can follow to your reference sheet. So what that means is that whatever is sticking out in your reference sheet is what needs to go in text. That's why we want to make sure that you know how to lay out a reference before you start writing your paper, so that whatever is sticking out will go in text and the two are connected. The difference between a bibliography and a reference is very simple. The bibliography is meant to be everything that you have read, and you would use this if you wanted to give them further reading choices on the topic. They're laid out the same, but you're interested in the references, which is simply what you referred to in your paper. So if you used a source to help you build your paper, it should appear on your reference sheet. It'll have an in-text citation that connects to the references. So you're doing the reference sheet, not a bibliography. And then finally, why does it look different from what I was taught in high school? Well, that's because, not that it was wrong, and you're not crazy, you were probably taught the MLA style, Modern Languages Association style, which would be a works cited sheet. What you will be using for your purposes is a reference sheet. And they look very similar, but there are some critical differences we will go over. Now, it's not that one is better than the other or right or wrong. It's simply that different disciplines use different styles. And all they did was get together and say, okay, in the humanities, which is what your English teacher would have taught you, she's part of the humanities group, we're all going to do it this way. And in the sciences, the American Psychological Association is the style that they use in the sciences. They all sat down and said, well, we're going to do it this way. And you're part of the sciences group. Finally, let me warn you, these do change over time. And APA is going through some pretty substantial changes right now. And until they decide how they want to do things, we are going to just use what's in your book. So please do not use any online reference guides. Use what's in your book. You were asked to purchase the book, and I think it's only fair that we actually use it. So for consistency's sake, we're going to use your book. So you're ready to begin. So the first thing I want you to do is turn to the page listed below here in your quick access book to look at a sample. And just let it wash over you. I just want you to absorb it, notice things about it. Notice how it's laid out, how it looks different from the rest of your text. And then let your eyes kind of notice the individual citations and the order that things appear, because there's a definite pattern emerging if you take a look at them. Scanning down, did you notice that your title, references, is just like a title in that it's centered, it is the same font size as your regular text, except for the capital R. There is nothing funky about it. It is not bolded, it's not underlined, it's not in italic, and it doesn't have an extra space before or after it. Moving further down, you will notice that the spacing is double spaced, which is nice because as you're typing your paper, it's double spaced and you don't have to change anything. There are no extra spaces in between your citations, which means you'll only hit enter once, not twice, but once. The only thing that marks them is that that first line is kind of sticking out, and now you know why. Because whatever is sticking out is going to be our little breadcrumb in the body of your text to guide me to this. And another thing that helps me guide me to it is that all of them are alphabetized by whatever is sticking out. So your instinct may be to put them in the order that you use them, but that's not useful to the person reading it, because if I get to page 5 and you've used 15 sources, I'm going to have to go back and count all your sources to find it on your reference sheet. So instead, to make it easy for me, you will alphabetize by whatever is sticking out. Okay, you are ready for the sum up. What did we learn? Basics, that our references are used in conjunction with the in-text citation so that whatever's sticking out plus the year will go in text, and they must match, that you're only going to use whatever you referred to in your paper. So there should be an in-text citation that matches the reference, that the basic format is double-spaced with no extra in between. It will be alphabetized, and you'll use the hanging indent so that something does stick out, and that the word references is just capitalized and centered. It's not extra big fun or anything. Finally, this sometimes comes up if you are lucky enough to get a personal interview with someone at the company, then you will not include that on your references. You will, however, introduce them in text. You'll say who they are and why they are an authority. For instance, the president of the company. And then you can quote away, but it won't end up on your reference sheet. Good.